Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om.
Where did you press on the thing?
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om. 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 Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Today, for a change, we will just go through the articles that are going to appear in the January edition. Action in inaction. Instrument is present. This is Papa's poem. Sonorous strings. Thought is silent. Vibrant is the soul. Stillness and action equalize. Then is the highest yoga. Stillness itself is inertia. Action itself is discord. When both coexist together, revealed, then ring symphony eternal, mingling rapture of delight with a true ethereal peace. Editorial. The word yoga is understood by many people merely as certain physical exercise like asanas, pranayama and the like. Seldom do we understand that the word yoga stands for union with God. Vinobaji says, yoga means union or integration. It entails detachment from suffering and perverse propensities, in fact from all outside interests, and integration with the divine. Different types of yoga are different means or processes to achieve such integration, or in other words, spiritual liberation. In other words, we can say that yoga is an endeavor to apply the spiritual tenets in daily life. It is the art of harmoniously translating the principles of life and practice. Hence, the body and the mind need to be harmonized and their energies channelized towards the goal to faith. There is a direct correlation between the body and the mind. If the mind is unruly and uncontrolled, the body will also not be under control. If the mind is unhealthy, then body will also be unhealthy. Research has shown that every thought in the mind affects the brain, nervous system, and all other organs in the body. Negative thoughts and emotions disturb the balance of the nervous system and organs. This is the cause. This is the cause for all the diseases of the body and the mind. So control of the mind is essential for physical and mental health. A balanced lifestyle is also essential for harmony of the mind and body. Our thoughts, emotions, feelings and conditioning are very difficult to control. Yoga is a means to control all these functions of the mind and bring about one-pointedness of mind through moderation and regulation in life, equanimity and evenness in outlook, and above all, efficiency in action. The practice of yoga enables the mind to become perfectly steady and peaceful. The natural state of our mind is peacefulness without any distraction, disturbances, difficulties, distress. Yoga is the path to reach this natural state. This month's issue of the Vision carries articles on yoga by various Mahatmas. Yoga by Beloved Papa. Yoga is the path by traversing which the individual soul realizes its real nature of immortality, omnipresence, peace, and bliss. The essential condition for the attainment of the supreme goal is the complete absence of the ego sense. Self-control and self-discipline are the means. Yoga also signifies union with and absorption in the immortal reality. A steady, persevering, concentrated effort and struggle alone can lead the aspirant to the realization of the Godhead. So long as man is hankering after the pleasures of the senses, his progress on the path is slow and erratic. He must be undaunted in his endeavor and determined in his purpose. He must leave no stone unturned to subdue and eventually eradicate the impure passions of his heart and mind. A purified and enlightened buddhi alone can entitle the sadhaka to enter the kingdom of eternity. Yoga is not a thing to be merely talked about, read in books, heard through others. Yoga is for practice in life. Yoga, which does not soften the heart and fill it with pure emotions of love, compassion and peace, is not worth the name. Real concentration of mind and meditation of God in the chamber of his heart does bring about an enormous change in the devotee. His transformed life becomes a beacon light for others. Through thought, word and deed, he pours out love and bliss upon all. If not to live such a life, what use is there for a man to speak and wish to hear of yoga? Yoga is usually understood to mean the performance of some mysterious practices by which one becomes gifted with miraculous powers. And there are many who are keen upon the knowledge of this practice in order to gain these powers. A real yogi does possess supernatural powers which he brings into play, if at all he makes use of them for the uplift of humanity. These powers come to him in the usual course. He never works for them. If he does, the fullness of joy and ecstasy of his immortal self and the continued flow of his heart in floods of love for all in the world would have no place in his life. Therefore, the sole aim with which a devotee or a sadhaka starts on the career of yoga is only to attain perfect union with his God or complete liberation. There is no mystery about yoga. Simple union and the resultant identity with God is yoga. Control of mind and senses through systematic practice suited to each individual temperament and nature constitutes the way. The end is everlasting joy and freedom, a vision of divine light and peace, a life surcharged with transcendent beauty, love and rapture. In the state of yoga, the yogi established in absolute peace remains unaffected by the external impact of cold and heat, pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor. Further, since he has attained the knowledge of the Atman by the control and subdue of the senses, he looks with equality upon a lump of earth, a stone or gold. His attitude will be the same towards all, be they friends or enemies, countrymen or foreigners, relatives or strangers, pious or wicked. Beloved Papa answers, devotee, in my work as a sculptor, why is it that sometimes my production comes out very nice, sometimes very poor and lifeless? It is sometimes inspiring, sometimes not. Papa, that depends upon the mental condition of the sculptor while at work. If while doing the work you are filled with inspiration, then it is done wonderfully. You must be lost in it completely. Body consciousness must go. You must be in tune with the work you do. When your mind is concentrated, you are in a state of yoga. When your mind is concentrated, you are in a state of yoga. Then you will produce masterpieces. Sculptors, painters, singers, poets are all like that. In that state of yoga, you are so much absorbed in the work that after finishing it, you yourself wonder whether the work was done by yourself. You cannot produce such a work when the mind is restless. Saints are always in such a state of absorption. So whatever they do is done in a state of yoga. Whatever little thing they do so beautifully, so perfectly, without any flaw or blemish. It is better you meditate for some time before you take up such work. When you are absorbed in the work, if anybody pats on your back, you do not know it. Somebody shouts at you, you do not hear. Hunger and thirst do not torment you because the mind is in a state of yoga. Devotee, what is Papa's opinion of jnana as compared to karma yoga? Papa, in karma yoga you dedicate all your actions to God. Your heart must be open to God to be filled with infinite love for Him. Love for God means love for all beings and creatures. With the intellect, you have to identify yourself with the Atman. So Ramdas does not think these three yogas or paths are distinct or separate. They form part of one Purna Yoga. Intellectual, emotional, vital. On the plane of action, the body plays the part. On the plane of love, heart plays the part. And on the plane of wisdom, head plays the part. By the combined effort of all the three, you get the full experience of God. In all His efforts, God is eternal wisdom, infinite love, almighty power. Eternal wisdom flows through your intellect, infinite love through your heart, almighty power works through your body. With the Divine Mother. An Australian couple and their 5-year-old son come to take leave of Mataji. As they sit before Mataji, Mataji tells them, when you return home, you should worship Christ in your own house. Then your visit and stay here will have been worthwhile. There is a center of universal love and service. This is a center of universal love and service. By imbibing what Papa has taught us, treat the people around you and in your home as forms of Christ who is seated in their heart as well as in yours, and love and serve them as you would love and serve Christ Himself. Then Christ will take no time in revealing Himself in your heart. After all the people and creatures of the world are but His manifestation. And when we treat the people around us with the same love as we treat our own Guru, He does not take much time to reveal His universal being in our hearts. He is Nirguna, Nirvikara, static as well as dynamic faculty. What we have to aspire for is Purushottama Yoga, or realization of both these aspects. All this is possible only if you love and serve everyone as forms of Christ. Australian, but Mataji, can we not worship Him as Papa, Mataji and Ram? Mataji, whatever you call Him as Papa or Christ, it makes no difference. But just as each of the different organs of the body has its own function, for example, you see with your eyes, hear with your ears, speak with your tongue, smell with your nose, etc. Each organ performs its appointed function, not for itself alone, but for the body as a whole. So also, the Supreme Universal Being has incarnated Himself in different forms in different regions and hemispheres in order to teach us to realize His universal aspect. Australian, Mataji, in our place we have a mandir where we have pictures of different saints, gods, etc. But the central place is given to Papa Mataji. We have Christ's image too, but we worship Christ only through worshipping Papa Mataji. Mataji, that's all right, but it is not enough if we worship pictures and images. We have to expand our vision beyond the idols and pictures to seeing Papa in all forms around us. Otherwise, there will be stagnation, and we will always be confined to idol worship, Murti Pujan, which is but one step in the path. Murti Pujan should lead us to service and worship of our Guru, who is in all the living forms around us. That will accelerate our spiritual progress. Yoga, a means on the spiritual path by Swami Satchidananda Ji. By blessing man with intellect and the capacity to raise himself from the animal to the human and from human to divine, God has given him a choice, either to sink low or to rise higher and higher to become divine. When the aspiration to raise himself gets strong in him, he strives more for the knowledge of the truth of his real being than for the pleasures of the senses. This is the great turning point in his life. By his effort to experience more, he will also be able to accept that there is a higher power that is causing this universe to appear, exist, disappear, and if he prays to that power, he can also raise himself to higher levels of consciousness. Here begins the real effort to raise himself to higher levels of consciousness. He is in frantic search of someone who lives in that highest consciousness. Fortunately for humanity, there are a few, only rarely do we see, living here and there in this vast world. They have realized their oneness with that absolute power and existence and are enjoying the peace and bliss eternal, unaffected by the pain and sorrows of the world, to which an ordinary man is bound miserably. Taking blessings and guidance from such a great one, the seeker tries to follow one of the many paths, namely devotion, knowledge, selfless service, or yoga. The more intense his aspiration to realize the truth, the faster will be his progress. Yogananda Paramahamsa. Yoga is a system of scientific methods for reuniting the soul with the spirit. We have come down from God. We must reascend to Him. We have seemingly become separated from our Father. We must consciously reunite with Him. Yoga teaches us how to rise above the delusion of separation and realize our oneness with God. The poet Milton wrote of the soul of man and how it might regain paradise. That is the purpose and goal of yoga. To regain the lost paradise of soul consciousness by which man knows that he is and ever has been one with spirit. Papa, the guiding star. We were fortunate to spend a few hours at Mahatma Ji's Samadhi at Rajkot and Gandhi Smriti, where the Mahatma spent his last days. Mahatma Ji's life and mission has always been a source of inspiration to this child, and what attracted him most was Gandhiji's simplicity, adherence to truth, faith in Ramnam, love to all, malice towards none, openness of his life, and sense of impartiality. The visit to Rajghat and Gandhi Smriti made him mentally go through the various themes of Gandhiji's life and his total adherence to moral and spiritual values. Words of beloved Papa on Mahatma Ji come to mind. Papa says, Mahatma Gandhi, in whatever spheres of his life his activities have flowed, is essentially a man of God, a man whose supreme power and virtue lie in his magnificent influence in awakening humanity to the eternal verities of life and leading it on to the height of moral and spiritual culture. It is well known that the Mahatma stands for the cult of non-violence, which he holds forth, just as Yudhishthira in days of yore did, as the highest principle of human life. We also called on the Delhi Center of Chinmaya Mission. Though we could not meet the Swami of this center, we were taken to the various sections. Details of the Child's Association of Chinmaya Mission are given elsewhere in this narration. Shivanand Satsang Bhavan was also visited. Brahmachari Haridas, who hailed from USA, is at the moment the resident of the Bhavan. Apart from coming to the station, He also attended the satsang sessions, and finally it was he who took this child to Haridwar. Virat Papa, through such form, tenderly looked after this child throughout the yatra. Sri Saxena, a retired IAS officer and a good friend of Sri Arun Haldipu, a senior devotee of the ashram, has been rendering his seva to ashram on matters connected with the Ministry of Finance, Government of India. Though he has not visited Anand Ashram, he treated this child so lovingly as if he had been moving closely for many years. He too was at Delhi station to receive this child and regularly attended the evening session. He also found time to take this child to the office of the Ministry of Finance and to his house. On the 25th August, with present memories of the kindness of love of the Mehtas, the child left for Haridwar, accompanied by Brahmachari Haridas. Definitions of yoga in the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Ranganathananda. Yogastha kurukarmani sankam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyau samo bhutva samatvam yogamuchyate. Being steadfast in yoga, O Arjuna, perform actions, abandoning attachment, remaining unconcerned as regards success and failure. This evenness of mind is known as yoga. What is yoga? Samatvam is yoga. Equanimity, mind in perfect balance. That is called yoga. But then what point of view shall I adopt during work and human relations? Yogastha kurukarmani. Do actions established in yoga. Sankam tyaktva, giving up attachment that comes from the truncated self. All attachment comes from the little man. That attachment has to go. But how does it go? When you deny the little I, the large I being to manifest. Therefore, becoming even-minded in success and failure. Too much depression in failure, too much elation in success is not proper. Therefore, try to keep the mind even, samo bhutva. This is the great teaching Sri Krishna is giving us. Do work, but the consciousness level from which your work proceeds must be stable and steady. That is called Buddhi Yoga or Yoga Buddhi. Buddhi established in yoga. This is the best state from which all actions can come. They will always be good, good for oneself, good for all. Great workers, great world movers, unless they had samatvam within, would not have summoned the tremendous energy to make the world move in that particular direction. And so for all of us, as much as we can, even one step ahead is good for us, for making our life efficient. And this yoga is later, in another sloka, is going to be defined as efficiency in life and work. So in this verse, Sri Krishna tells humanity through Arjuna, Yogastha kurukarmani and samatvam yogamuchyate. Even at the age of 4 and 5, a child must be taught a little samatvam. Children are generally excitable, and it is not bad at their age, but they must slowly initiate it into this. Now try to calm your mind. Don't be excited all the time. That means the child is being taught to handle its own mind, not to continue to be a plaything of the external world. From the world outside, somebody says to you that you are a fool, and you become wretched and depressed. That man who called you a fool is dead and gone, but you are living a depressed life because somebody said you are a fool. This is what an American writer said. To put your mind in somebody else's pocket is the most unfortunate thing you can do. So learn to put it in your own pocket. I shall determine how I react to any situation. That can come only when the mind has that balance. The first thing you have to do is handle your mind. Then something great will happen to you. So this is the first definition of yoga. Yoga is dexterity in action. Buddhi yukto jahadiha ubhe sugudha duskrite tasmad yogaya yujyasya yoga karma sukausaram. Endued with this evenness of buddhi, one frees oneself in this very life, alike from virtue and vice. Devote yourself therefore to this yoga. Yoga is efficiency in action. Yoga is efficiency or dexterity in action. You are working, that is beautiful. It can become not only a means for your worldly welfare, but also a school of your own inner development. That is the unique feature of the Gita teaching. In no other religious literature in India or abroad, you find this definition of spirituality. Spirituality is defined here as efficiency in work. Spirituality. What kind of definition is it? It is a combination of productive efficiency without spiritual efficiency within. Productive efficiency without and spiritual efficiency within. Efficiency is a great word. Everything must be efficient. Efficient machine, efficient workers, efficient managers, efficient doctors, efficient nurses. The Gita introduces a second and higher dimension of efficiency, which is greatly needed today in our civilization. There are two levels of efficiency in work. When you work, you change the world around you. But Sri Krishna emphasizes a second aspect also, which is much neglected in our modern civilization. See what has happened to you after years of productive efficiency. Have you grown spiritually? Have you realized something of the divine spark that is within you? Have you gone beyond the body-mind complex and its pulls and pressures and become calm and steady within yourself? This second emphasis is highly needed today all over the world because we find man has become smaller and smaller, more subject to tension, sorrow, unfulfillment and suicidal tendencies. All these things are there in this most efficient and technological civilization. The Gita gently advises all working people to take care of this also. As you work, you bring blessings to the society by your honest, efficient, cooperative labor in whatever field you are working. See also that your inner life becomes qualitatively richer, full of joy, full of peace, full of love and concern for humanity. Today we can call it qualitative enrichment of human life. Yoga is qualitative enrichment of human life. Sri Krishna is whispering to everybody. This is the most touching. Be a yogi. Sri Krishna is whispering to everybody. Be a yogi. Immediately many of us may come to a wrong conclusion. To be a yogi, you must be a special kind of people. Some magic, some miracle, this, that must be there. Sri Krishna says, no. I don't mean any of that. I mean the most normal life, but with a depth added to it. Nothing at the surface level. Sri Krishna had earlier said, even a little of it is good. Sarvam apyasya dharmasya prayate mahado bhaya. Sri Krishna asked me to be a yogi. I can't be 100% yogi. I will remain what I am. This is not the correct attitude. Become a yogi of 1%, 5%, as much as you can. All that is going to bring a lot of blessings to you and to your society. That truth you have to keep in view constantly. Yoga by Swami Shivananda. Yoga is a perfect practical system of self-culture. Yoga is an exact science. It aims at the harmonious development of the body, the mind and the soul. Yoga is the turning away of the senses from the objective universe and the concentration of the mind within. Yoga is eternal life in the soul or spirit. Yoga aims at controlling the mind and its modifications. The path of yoga is an inner path whose gateway is your heart. Heart means feelings. The yoga of path is an inner path whose gateway is your heart. Yoga is the discipline of the mind, senses and physical body. Yoga helps in the coordination and control of the subtle forces within the body. Yoga brings in perfection, peace, everlasting happiness. Yoga can help you in your business and in your daily life. You can have calmness of mind at all times by the practice of yoga. You can have restful sleep. You can have increased energy, vigor, vitality, longevity, high standard of health. Yoga transmutes animal nature into divine nature. Raises you to the pinnacle of divine glory and splendor. The practice of yoga will help you to control the emotions and passions and will give you power to resist temptations and to remove the disturbing elements from mind. It will enable you to keep a balanced mind always and remove fatigue. It will confer on you serenity, calmness, and wonderful concentration. It will enable you to hold communion with the Lord and thus attain the summum bonum of existence. If you want to attain success in yoga, you will have to abandon all worldly enjoyment and practice tapas and brahmacharya. You will have to control the mind skillfully and tactfully. You will have to use judicious and intelligent methods to curb it. If you use force on the mind, it will become more turbulent and mischievous. It cannot be controlled by force. It will jump and drift away more and more. Those who attempt to control the mind by forces are like those who endeavor to bind a furious elephant with a skin, silk and thread. A guru or a preceptor is indispensable for the practice of yoga. The aspirant in the path of yoga should be humble, simple, gentle, refined, tolerant, merciful and kind. If you have a curiosity to get psychic powers, you cannot have success in yoga. Yoga does not consist in sitting cross-legged for 6 hours or stopping the pulse or beating of the heart or getting oneself buried underneath the ground for a week or a month. Self-sufficiency, impertinence, pride, luxury, name, fame, self-assertive nature, obstinacy, idea of superiority, sensual desires, evil company, laziness, overeating, overwork, too much mixing, too much talking are some of the obstacles in the path of yoga. Self-sufficiency, that is arrogating, impertinence, pride, luxury, name, fame, self-assertive nature, obstinacy, idea of superiority, sensual desire, evil company, laziness, overeating, overwork, too much mixing, too much talking are some of the obstacles in the path of yoga. Admit your fault freely. When you are free from these evil traits, samadhi or union will become by itself. Practice yama and niyama. Sit comfortably in padma or siddhasana. Restrain the breath. Withdraw the senses. Control the thoughts. Concentrate. Meditate. Attain asamprajnata or nirvikalpa samadhi, union with the Supreme Self. May you shine as a brilliant yogi by the practice of yoga. May you enjoy the bliss of the eternal. Eightfold Path of Yoga. Yoga, the timeless science behind all true religions, consists of systematic and definite steps to realization of the soul's oneness with spirit. The essence of the yoga path was set forth in systematic form by the ancient sage Patanjali in his short but masterly work, the Yoga Shastra. Paramahamsa Yogananda has written, Patanjali's date of is unknown, though many scholars assign him to be the 2nd century BC. His renowned Yoga Shastra presents in a series of brief aphorisms the condensed essence of the exceedingly vast and intricate science of God union, setting forth the methods of uniting the soul with the undifferentiated spirit in such a beautiful, clear, concise way that generations of scholars have acknowledged the Yoga Sutras as the foremost ancient work on yoga. The yoga system of Patanjali is known as the Eightfold Path, which leads to the final goal of God realization. First is Yama, non-injury to others, truthfulness, non-stealing, continence, non-covetousness. Niyama, purity of body and mind, contentment in all circumstances, self-discipline, self-study, and devotion to God and Guru. Asana, right posture. Pranayama, control of prana, the subtle life currents in the body. Pratyahara, interiorization through withdrawal of the senses from external objects. Dharana, focused concentration, holding the mind to one thought or object. Dhyana, meditation, absorption in the vast perception of God in one of his infinite aspects, as bliss, peace, cosmic life, cosmic sound, love, wisdom, etc., all pervading throughout the whole universe. Samadhi, superconscious experience of the oneness of the individualized soul with cosmic spirit. So yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. Swami Vivekananda on yoga. Yoga is controlling the senses, will and mind. The Hindu concentrated on the internal world, upon the unseen realms in the self, and developed the science of yoga. Yoga is controlling the senses, will and mind. The benefit for the study is that we learn to control instead of being controlled. Mind seems to be layer on layer. Our real goal is to cross all these intervening strata of our being and find God. The end and aim of yoga is to realize God. To do this, we must go beyond relative knowledge, go beyond the sense world. The world is awake to the senses. The children of the Lord are asleep on the plain. The world is asleep to the eternal. The children of the Lord are awake in that realm. These are the sons of God. There is but one way to control the senses, to see Him who is the reality in the universe. Then and only then can we really conquer our senses. Yoga is the method to understand reality. The ultimate goal of all mankind, the aim and end of all religion is but one, reunion with God. Or what amounts to the same is the divinity which is every man's true nature. But while the aim is one, the method of attaining may vary with the different temperaments of men. Both the goal and the methods employed for reaching it are called yoga, a word derived from the same Sanskrit root as the English yoke, meaning to join us to our reality, God. There are various such yogas or methods of union, but the chief ones are Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Every man must develop according to his own nature. As every science has its methods, so has every religion. The methods of attaining the end religion are called yoga by us, and the different forms of yoga that we teach are adapted to the different natures and temperaments of men. We easily classify them in the following way under 4 heads. Karma Yoga, the manner in which a man realizes his own divinity through works and duty. Bhakti Yoga, the realization of the divinity through devotion to and love of a personal God. Raja Yoga, the realization of the divinity through the control of the mind. Jnana Yoga, the realization of man's own divinity through knowledge. These are all different roads leading to the same center God. Indeed, the varieties of religious beliefs are an advantage, since all faiths are good so far as they encourage man to lead a religious life. The more sects they are, the more opportunities there are for making successful appeal to the divine instinct in all men. Papa's words, for a beginner in the practice of yoga, solitude is the best thing. Meditation on the divine self in a solitary place raises him to higher levels of consciousness in which he remains merged in samadhi. Continued sadhana in solitude enables him to realize God. Ramana Maharshi on yoga. Devotee, yoga means union. I wonder, union of what with what? Maharshi, exactly yoga implies prior division, and it means later union of one thing with another. But who is to be united and with whom? You are the seeker seeking union with something. If you assume this, then that something must be apart from you. But yourself is intimate to you. You are always aware of it. Seek it. Be it. That it will expand at the infinite and there will be no question of yoga. Who sees the separation? The yoga. Devotee, I don't know. Is there really a separation? Maharshi, find out to whom is the yoga. That is yoga. Yoga is common to all paths. Yoga is really nothing but ceasing to think that you are different from the self or reality. All the yogas, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, are just different paths to suit different natures with different modes of evolution. They are all aimed at getting people out of the long cherished notion, and they are different from the self. There is no question of union or yoga in the sense of going and joining something that is somewhere away from us or different from us, because you never were or could be separate from the self. What is the difference between yoga and inquiry? Maharshi, yoga enjoins chitta vritti nirodha, repression of thought, whereas I prescribe atmanveshana, quest of oneself. This latter method is more practicable. The mind is repressed in doom and as the effect of fasting. But as soon as the cause is withdrawn, the mind revives. That is, the thought begins to allow flow as before. There are just two ways of controlling the mind. Either seek its source or surrender it to be struck down by the Supreme Power. Surrender is the recognition of the existence of a higher overruling power. If the mind refuses to help in seeking the source, let it go and wait for its return. Then turn inwards. No one succeeds without patient perseverance. Dear children, the boy and the candle. The father and his little son are sitting in a dark room. The son asks, Father, I am afraid of this darkness. How can I remove it? Light the candle, son. The boy lights the candle. Now the darkness is gone. Is it not, father? Yes, son, replies the father. The son blows out the candle. Oh, it is again dark, father, I am afraid. Light the candle again. The boy lights the candle again. Now the darkness is gone. This way he lights and blows off the candle several times. Then the father tells him, Son, so long as there is darkness, you should keep the candle burning. If you blow it off, the darkness will envelop you once again. But when the sun rises, you need the candle no more. Then you get light throughout the day from the supreme light of the universe. Similarly, the disciple approaches the Guru for instruction on yoga, receives the Diksha. The disciple practices sadhana for a little while and gets his little spiritual progress. Satisfied that he has attained the supreme and conquered Maya, he stops the sadhana. Darkness envelops him again. This goes on. Yoga comes and goes till he learns to be steadfast in his sadhana. Thus, he keeps the darkness of Maya away till the sun of Atmajnana arises in him. With the rise of sun of the supreme wisdom, the darkness of ignorance vanishes forever and he basks in the sunshine of Sahaj Samadhi. Epistle of Swami Ramdas. Beloved Ram, may Sri Ram bless you all. Courage, brother, do not stumble. Though thy path be dark as night, there is a star to guide and the humble. Trust in God, do the right. Our goal here is to seek rest in activity. Our goal is here to seek rest in activity. In the rush of movement and work, find the haven of peace and joy. Identifying yourself with the immortal, do all work as worship, as his service. This is yoga. Shrink not, faint not, trust the Almighty Lord of the world. He is in you, you are in Him. He and you are one. Whatever work God provides you, do it dispassionately, yourself, a mere instrument with God's power or Shakti as the doer. God is love. He is in your heart. Surrender to Him. Let him be your guide and master on all matters. Give up doubts, cares, and worries. In memoriam. All the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. As Shakespeare puts it, it is perfectly right. When the stage manager says your time is up, you go behind the curtain. But let us know, it's a play and nothing more. We are in a dharmashala where we the travelers stay for a while, then depart. There is nothing permanent here. These are the words of Papa. As willed by Papa, quite a few devotees of the ashram attained the holy feet of the Lord in the months of November and December 2020. Sri P.R. Mehta from Surat was called by Vedat Papa on the 18th November. He had been associating with the ashram for several decades. Sri S.D. Bhatta, a devotee from Faridabad, dropped his mortal coil on the 18th November. Sri N. Ramanan from Wayanad, who had immense love for Ramnam and Bhajan, was called by Vedat Papa on the 26th of November 2020. Sri M. Arunachalam from Tirupur also attained his holy feet on the 27th November 2020. Several satsang, Arunachalamji was instrumental in organizing several satsang programs in Tirupur. He always encouraged devotees to take to the chanting of the divine name. Sri D. Krishnamurti from Tiruvallur dropped his mortal coil on 27th. His family has been associating with the ashram since the 1940s. Sri S. Kundraj from Chennai attained his holy feet on 30th November. His love for Ramnam and ashram made him a regular visitor throughout his life. Dr. Bajrangalal Gupta of the Sagarlal Gupta family, a veteran devotee of the ashram from Hyderabad, was also called by Vedat Papa on the 3rd December. All members of Sagarlal Gupta family have been deeply devoted to Vedat Papa, Puja Mataji and Puja Swamiji since the early 1950s. They have also been closely associating with the ashram activities ever since. Bajrangalalji bore a great love for Puja Mataji and Puja Swami Satchidananda. He endeavored to put into practice the teaching of Puja Mataji had imparted to him. Srimati Devaki Tulsidas, an ardent devotee from Ernakulam, attained his holy feet on the 10th December. Sri Tulsidasji and her husband, her husband informed that she was cheerful and chanting the divine name at the time of passing. We pray for Vedat Papa's blessings on the dear departed soul for eternal rest and peace at his lotus feet. Important days in 2021 and Ashram news. The total Namjapa for November was 210 crores and the grand total stands at 8,776 crores in this round. Yoga is restraining the mind step from taking the various forms. Yoga means union with God. So this is how Papa facilitated us to have the vision for January. In a nutshell, elaborately, through so many Mahatmas, he spoke to us about the yoga. Now we all know that the yoga has to do very much with our life. Previously we were under the impression that when we join a yoga class, it is necessary. It is not, nobody can belittle the importance of the yoga classes that are going on. Not merely that. Ultimately, this yoga should enable us to have the control of the mind, control of the body, bring out efficiency in action in all that we do, enable us to keep up the equilibrium, equanimity in everything. And finally, we should also be alert whether we are moving towards the ultimate. This is the message given to us by different Mahatmas. Only in the case of Ramana Bhagavan, he said there is no union because we are that. For people who are seekers, the thought is always away. So from that point, he says it is not union with God. because we are already there. Otherwise, we find everywhere yoga is union with, integration with God. So it is not a separate subject. It is not a thing to be separated. Especially people like us who feel they are all devotees or sadhakas. So the concept of yoga is a must for us. Delving more and more on the import of yoga will enable us to move faster towards the goal. In so many ways the Mahatmas have explained to us. Let us all try to assimilate as much as we can. When the vision comes at you, when it is posted and first, when it comes to you, kindly go through that with that. It is all giving us a push. Now when we look at the whole thing, along with our Ramnam, along with our Satsang, along with our Bhajan, along with our studies, Shastras or books, this has to be borne in mind. So yoga is not to be limited to what we have generally understood. That is the prime message. And as devotees and spiritual aspirants, the concept of yoga must always be alive in our mind. Because if the efficiency in action comes right from the moment we get up in the morning. How do we keep the bed spread? How do we keep the pillows and the bed sheet? How do we take the brush? How do we apply the paste on the brush? How do we keep back the paste there? Everything is there. Yoga Karma Kaushala. Everywhere it penetrates now. Whether at home or in the office or with our friends, wherever we are. Raghunath Maharaj beautifully said, be a yogi. Lord Krishna keeps on whispering into us, be a yogi. And when we cannot rise up to the full, let us not get demotivated. He said, alright, Svalpam Apyasya Dharmasya, he has given us some allowance for us. 5% yogi, 10% yogi, 25% yogi. So wherever we do, whatever we do, we try to make it as perfect as possible. And that equanimity, how much it saves us from tension, from excitement, keeping up. God is there. How can we do that? God is there, when He arranges. Why should we unnecessarily break our head with this and that? Equanimity. How much, when you run an organization, when you run a family, when you run a society, how much it helps us to bring out not only efficiency, harmony, peace. So through yoga, today we have been taught about that. And later on probably it might enable us to graduate to understand more and more about Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga. You have got the divine life? The yoga means union or integration. It entails detachment from suffering and perverse propensity. So that my day for us today, we said that we will read and we call on the Lord. We must keep on calling Him. Call on the Lord with all the love of your heart. Concentrate all your longing in that call. Not simply calling, And you may be sure that God will respond. Thus it was in great devotees of the past and present entitled themselves to His infinite grace. The language of love is simply irresistible. Just as the child by its lisping talk charms and captures the heart of the mother, so the true devotee by his frank and plaintive words of love draws towards him the Almighty Beloved of his heart. The language of the devotee is the expression of his pure and aspiring heart. Heart is the veena, and devotion the fingers that play upon it to infuse a magic spell in the call for the Lord. Heart is the veena, no? And devotion the fingers that play upon it to infuse a magic spell in the chord. Hence, the devotee employs sweet music for his appeals and prayers to God. He cries and weeps for God, extols, glorifies Him, talks, holds communion with Him in a rhythmic language of love. He sings and dances when he has found his beloved. The music of divine symphony thrills his entire frame. Ecstasy or inexpressible joy rises in waves in his heart. Love overflows in tears through his eyes. Purity, peace and light permeate his entire being. This is the culmination of his utter devotion and self-surrender. He places his entire life, soul, body at the feet of the Beloved. How does the devotee attain to this exalted state of perfect union with the Lord of his heart? It is clear that he adopts music as the means by which he tunes his heart with the heart of God. A heart that is filled with love, selfless and radiant, alone raises a human being to the feet of the Almighty. Such a love sings like the nightingale, gives out perfume like the rose, beautifies life in all its aspects, brings the devotee in intimate touch and eternal fellowship with the Lord. Therefore, call on the Lord. With all your heart, He is sure to respond. Make Him the sole beloved of your life, and He is sure to be yours. Pray to Him, sing of Him, dedicate yourself to Him. He will grant you absolute peace and bliss. Nay, He will reveal Himself in your heart, absorb you into His transcendent being, and thus make you realize that you are the very embodiment of His own cosmic peace and joy. He will then give you the vision of beholding Him everywhere. That is, you will behold your own Supreme Self manifested as the entire universe. Love is your way, love is your goal. Call on the Lord, the Beloved. Have you found anything sweeter than His name? More charming than the sound of His name? If you have real love for the Lord, He will reply, certainly I have not. Then there is no need for anybody to tell you that you should sing on His name and be inebriated with the divine ecstasy associated with it. You will find your life has changed into a song of eternity. Who could adequately describe in words the wonderful glory of the Beloved's name? He who has tasted alone knows what it is like. Oh, taste it, and let the name illumine your heart and intellect and fill you with floods of joy. Sing on His name with all love and devotion. Embrace the Beloved in the recesses of your heart. What blessedness then is yours! Can you now hold such a precious possession in comparison with all the riches of the world? Name, fame, wealth in this evanescent world are as nothing to you when your heart has once drunk the nectar of the Beloved's name. Therefore, sing on His name with one-pointed devotion. The Beloved awaits you. You have only to take His name and He runs to you. How simple it is. Papa, to you it is simple. He runs to you. How simple it is. Yet how difficult with many whose love for the Beloved is not as intense as their attachment to the perishable baubles of the world. Direct your thought within. This is very important. Direct your thought within. Listen to the call of your own voice. That means when we call Him, we should hear. That means ensuring that the mind does not go out at all. Direct your thought within. Listen to the call of your own voice, and the responsive word of the beloved will come to you. And you will discover that he is within you. The beloved is in the heart of his devotee. Mingle your life in the ocean of his existence. Expand your heart to meet the infinity of his love. Widen your vision so that you may be bathed in his life, power and joy. Now you have become the beloved's beloved. Now you are one with him. Oh, the power and greatness of the call. Call on him, sing of him, and be ever blessed. So two important messages today. One is bring the yoga concept, yoga dimension, in all that we think, in all that we talk, in all that we do. Because to ensure that it doesn't slip into an academic or external exercise, he also wants us or prompts us, encourages us to call on the Lord. Call on the Lord. He said, heart is the veena. Devotion, the fingers. Devotion, so that means, with a devotional fervor, he says cry, weep, whatever form you employ. So we keep on knocking the door, inner chamber of our heart, with all its intensity, with all its perfection, with all devotion, with all dedication. This is what Papa wants all of us to do. Certainly not at the surface level alone. Last para, direct your thought within. Listen to the call of your own voice. In the third year is given to us. And the responsive word of the beloved will come to you. Direct your thought within. Listen to the call of your own voice. There lies the whole key. Now when we pray, when we do bhajan, when we do what happens, we have to watch now. Are we hearing our own prayer? Are we hearing our own call to him? And if we do so, he says, the responsive word of the beloved will come to you. And you will discover that he is within you. Verily, beloved is in the heart of his devotee. A profound technique, put it in a simple word, that's all. So when we repeat the universal prayer, O Lord of the universe, O Creator, Protector, Destroyer of the world, I must hear Thy glory, adorable presence. Whenever we chant any prayer, suppose we apply, we should hear our own prayer. Then see for ourselves what is happening inside. Then only it becomes an experience. So a wonderful clue has been given to us by Papa here. Direct your thought within, listen to the call of your own voice, and the responsive word of the beloved will come to you. And you will discover that he is within you. In simple words, he has given a profound idea, but let us all try our level best. Pray to him to educate us, to enlighten us, to illumine us, to guide us, to lead us, and finally to become one with him. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Om Ram, Jai Ram. श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम। श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम। श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम। श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम ओम।